The 5 best and 5 worst Samsung phones of all time. Samsung has become one of the world's biggest phone manufacturers. Along the road, it has had many popular phones, ranging from game-changing foldable phones to the well-loved Samsung Galaxy Note series. There have been many great Samsung phones. As one would expect though, not all the phones the company has made have been great. There have been some Samsung phones that seemed pretty solid at launch but were plagued by issues later on. On the other hand, there have been Samsung phones that didn't seem too impressive at the time, but in hindsight, have been crucial to Samsung's smartphone success. Samsung has made a lot of phones which have been deemed worthy of competing with the elusive iPhone. On the other hand, the company has had phones that have quite literally been deemed safety hazards. Samsung has had its share of hits and flops over the years, and both deserve to be revisited. Here's our rundown of the 5 best and 5 worst Samsung phones of all time. Best Samsung phones. First 1. Samsung Galaxy S2. The follow-up to the legacy establishing Samsung Galaxy S, the S2 was a greatly improved device that was loved by many. It was among the first Android phones touted as a proper iPhone competitor. It wasn't perfect, but as the first sequel of the series, it set the Galaxy S series on a path that helped Samsung make some of the best phones ever made. The Samsung Galaxy S2 arrived at a time when Samsung was just starting to strengthen its position in the market as a serious smartphone maker. As we pointed out in our Samsung Galaxy S2 review, the phone featured a lot of Samsung's strengths. The Super AMOLED display was a standout feature for the time, and the 1.2 GHz processor was powerful enough not to make the phone feel sluggish. Both also worked well with the battery of the phone and delivered brilliant battery life. The S2 was a very important phone in Samsung's journey to becoming the smartphone behemoth that it is today, and it is easily the best Samsung phone of all time. Second, Samsung Galaxy Nexus. The Samsung Galaxy Nexus was the only time we got to see Samsung make a Google Nexus device, and it was one of the best Android experiences you could get, with Samsung's finest hardware on offer, combined with pure Android, a fresh breath of air from the TouchWiz experience Samsung generally offered. This phone was our first shot at what we would come to call peak smartphone. It arrived a few months after the Samsung Galaxy S2, and it was a clear upgrade over the S2. Most importantly, it took care of the biggest problem we had with Samsung phones at the time, TouchWiz UI. Being a Nexus phone, it arrived with the pure Android experience on board, running Android 4.0 Ice Cream Sandwich. It was an amazing marriage of Samsung's finest hardware and Google's great software. In our Galaxy Nexus review, we called it the best Android phone around at the time. We would be lying if we said that the Galaxy Nexus still doesn't make us crave another Samsung phone running Google's untouched Android, even though Samsung's software has greatly improved over the years. Third phone, Samsung Galaxy Note 9. Samsung's Note series has been very important in the evolution of smartphones. Not only did it popularize big phones, but it also brought forth the concept of fully decked-out flagships. The Samsung Galaxy Note 9 was the height of Samsung's Note series. While it hit the $1,000 mark, the phone came with a lot of bells and whistles. A great phone for productivity with the note-taking features and Samsung DeX, this phone went all out. In our Samsung Galaxy Note 9 review, we called it a supercar smartphone, which is still apt 4 years later, even as the Note series is no more. It was among the first phones that tried to pack in every bit of performance possible and went the extra mile. Of course, this was reflected in its eye-watering price, but $1,000 phones are fairly common today. This phone had very little you could fault. It even came with a semi-exclusive Fortnite skin, if that was your thing. Fourth phone, Samsung Galaxy Flip 4. Flash forward to the current day, Samsung is now the clear industry leader in Android smartphones. This is well demonstrated in the company's foldable phones, which are getting so refined that any competition that enters the industry has a high bar to meet. The latest releases in the Galaxy Flip and Fold series set a new standard, with the Flip 4 taking the cake for offering what is possibly the best value in a foldable phone today. The Samsung Galaxy Flip 4 is the resurrection of the flip phone, except it's now perfected. The hardware, software, and value come together to make it the go-to foldable phone for most people. While foldable phones are still very expensive, the Flip 4 makes for a great value proposition and sits beside other $1,000 phones while making very few compromises in the name of the novelty form factor. In our Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 4 review, we noted that this phone takes away all the excuses we could give for not buying a foldable phone. It's not perfect, but it is nearing perfection, to a point where the compromises typically attached to this new form factor don't matter as much anymore. The Z Flip 4 is a landmark in Samsung's foldable journey and definitely deserves a spot among the best Samsung phones of all time. Fifth phone, Samsung Galaxy S8. The last phone on our list of the best Samsung phones is another S-series phone, and for a good reason. Samsung's S-series has had a lot of ups and downs over the years, but the S8 is where the series peaked. This was the second last phone in the series that had the base model carry more or less the same specifications as the Plus model. No Ultra needed. It was so refined that no base model in the Galaxy S-series since has managed to pack in the same punch or value. The highlight of the Samsung Galaxy S8 was the gorgeous curved 1440p Super AMOLED screen, which had just the right amount of curvature. It was a fantastic phone to hold, with a hand feel that is still unmatched. The 5.8-inch screen meant the phone was quite easy to handle. While the base models of Samsung's S-series still offer good value, they have some very obvious compromises over the Plus and Ultra models. In our Samsung Galaxy S8 review, we labeled it as a tremendously good phone. We also said that the phone had set Samsung's highest bar ever for its competitors, especially the iPhone. To this day, the S8 remains a dream phone come true, and we wish Samsung brings back the small flagship someday in the near future.